Hello everybody, Russian Batman, we're back in the real world, and you're probably wondering why. Well, you're not wondering why, because you read the title of the video, and I assume you're probably not an idiot, but we're ranking the Madagascar films. No one asked for this, but I'm doing it because I don't have an idea for a video today, and I was on a really long plane flight, and I decided to watch every single main Madagascar film back to back. I did not watch Penguins of Madagascar, but I'm going to include it in the list because there's only 3 Madagascar films. Last time I did a video similar was with the Ice Age films, and that was just because I decided to watch all of them on a plane flight. So whenever I watch a bunch of movies in the same franchise back to back, they're fresh in my mind, so I'm like, you know what? Let me give my official ranking for those films. All right, so starting off here in 4th place, I'm gonna have to give it to Madagascar 3. Now, just to be frank, none of these films are bad. These are all pretty good films. Unlike the Ice Age ranking, where I think the last Ice Age film, this is kind of similar, where the last Ice Age film was the worst. The most recent main Madagascar film is, I think, in my opinion, the worst. But like I said, it is not bad. It is actually a very good film. A lot of positives. Dubois is hilarious. The best villain of the franchise. Well, maybe the octopus is. No, I still think Dubois is the best. Dubois, I love her. She's great. She just like busts through walls for no reason. She's sort of like the grandma from the other films, where she's just OP for no reason at all. She's a really good scene when she's like singing to all of her police officer buddies or whatever, and they all just like come to life. Comedy gold. The lemur gets in an abusive relationship with a bear. Super funny. And there's a lot of other really good jokes. However, the film at times does feel a little bit bloated. There are a lot of characters. They have all the characters from the first film, and they also do introduce this whole new circus ensemble, which is quite a bit. I didn't find the seal that funny most of the time. It's like this Italian seal. I mean, he was kind of goofy, but his jokes didn't necessarily land for me. There are also some other jokes. It wasn't as consistently funny. There are some good jokes. There was a good joke about the French labor union, and the sword, and it's still very clever. And it's nice to see the trilogy concluded with them going back to New York. That was very nice to see. And also, the only other issue I do have with this film, it does seem to ignore the second film a lot for some reason. None of the characters introduced in the second film appear in this film. Even in like the very beginning when they're in Africa, and that film seemed like it concluded with them wanting to stay in Africa, but then all of a sudden the third one begins with them wanting to leave because there needs to be a plot. But other than that, I still think the fourth film was a really solid film. The third film was a really solid film, but unfortunately I have to give it last place because it has to go to one of the films. Next place we have here in 3rd place, surprisingly, is actually going to be the first film. And I'm kind of surprised the first film was this low, but the first film is still really, really solid movie. It does feel very contained compared to the previous, compared to like the fourth film. It's like I said, it's Madagascar. It's only in Madagascar. And have I been saying Ice Age this whole time? If I've been saying Ice Age, I meant to say Madagascar. But it's contained in Madagascar, and it's the only movie where the title actually makes sense, because the rest of the films are not in Madagascar, but they're still titled Madagascar. A lot of more really funny jokes. The joke about them going to what was I saying? Oh, there's a Planet of the Apes reference, which is pretty funny. There are King Julian is great. He's not as funny as I remember him. Obviously, the highlight I think of all the films are the penguins. They don't have as much to do in the first film as some of the others. Like, they have actually a lot more in the in the third and the second film. But in the first film, they're still funny as usual. The 2 monkeys are great as well. They don't introduce the rest of the monkeys until the second film, so you don't have the kind of ensemble of apes. So it's just the 2, but still really solid first film. Like I said, there's a lot of good jokes. I don't know what to say. It's good. I'm forgetting what happened for whatever reason. It's not a forgettable film, but there's no solid villain. The rest of the films do actually have a villain. This one really sort of doesn't, except if you include the grandma, but she only really becomes a main antagonistic force until the second film. So, yeah, but still, solid film. Highly recommend. Next up, we have here is the second film. I think out of the main ones, if you're not including Madagascar, Penguins, is the best. The second film I found just consistently the funniest. Uh, Off the top of my head, a lot of really good jokes is where they're digging up, trying to find water in Africa, and they're digging up. They're like, any water down there? Like, no, just more diamonds and gold. And they like, that's hilarious. There's a lot of really good jokes with the apes in this film. So the two apes find more apes, and they create this sort of ape labor union, which was really funny. There's like a scene where they're trying to rebuild this plane. The penguins are trying to rebuild this plane with the help of the apes, but all of a sudden the apes go on strike, and so they have like a labor negotiation with the labor union of apes. Sorry for that interruption. But as I was saying, that the second film is just really funny. There's a lot of really good jokes. So like I said, the labor union jokes are probably my favorite. Anything with the penguins is great. There are also, like I said, there's just a lot going on with the characters as well. I really like Melvin's arc. Melvin and Gloria's arc I thought was really good. Also a lot of jokes with Melvin were really good when the plane is crashing and Melvin confesses his love to Gloria, and Gloria's like sound asleep on the plane, and like Marty and Alex just give a major side eye. That cracks me up every time. But like I said, the characters have a lot more to do. They all have kind of complete arcs. Alex, reuniting with his family. You have Marty having an identity crisis with the other zebras. And there's just a lot of really good stuff to appreciate with this second film. And I think it's just really cool just to see a lot more animals. Like I said, there's not a lot of other really major characters, but like I said, I like the parents, I like the designs of like the other giraffes and whatnot, and some of the other animals. And it was just it's a really fun film, and I just think it's just a really good time. Moto is a classic of all time. He's a meme for a reason. There's a lot of really good memes that come from the second film. So I haven't seen the second film in a while, or just watch any of them. The second film is probably the best of the main trilogy. However, I did say that's number 2 because number 1 has to by far go to the Penguins of Madagascar. I did not watch this one when I watched these other films on the plane. However, I have seen this film several times, and I know without a doubt that it is by far the best out of all the films. I don't know how they made I can't think of a single other franchise where the spin-off film is like the best, except, I mean, maybe you can consider Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but that's like a sequel to a spin-off. I don't know how DreamWorks does spin-off films so well, but they cooked with this film. The amount of just hilarious jokes in it is just great. And you might not think like, well, how are these side comedic relief characters going to work in their own film? They do. They work so incredibly well. And they also like, there's like complete like story to it. It's not just like, it is really funny, but there's also a compelling arc with Skipper, with Private. Yeah, with Private's arc throughout the film. They show you like the origin of the penguins, which also, by the way, makes a joke in the first film so much more funny, showing how they came from Antarctica, right? And then in the first one, when they go to Antarctica and they go there and like, well, this sucks, and they immediately leave, right? That makes that joke so much more funny, knowing that they came from Antarctica and they go on this whole big arc to go home, and then when they go home, they hate it, and so they go on other adventures. But like, and also like the North Wind, I thought was good. The joke where he's eating the little the Cheez-Its is really funny. Dave the octopus, another great villain. I don't know if it's as good as Dubois, but he's hilarious. There's the joke where they don't recognize who Dave is, and I quote this with my brother all the time. He doesn't know who Dave is, and they're like, Dave's like, how's the wife? He's like, I'm not married. I don't know why that gets me every time. The writing in this film is also so damn clever. You've probably seen this joke, you've seen clips of this joke, but I didn't even realize it went this far. But a joke I remember when I first watched it, when he tells the octopus, Nicolas Cage, and I'm like, oh, that's, reference to Nick Cage. But it turns out there's so much more. There's, I think, a line that says, Hugh, Jack, man the battle station. Hugh Jackman. And I think there's, Elijah, would you do this or something? And then it's Elijah Wood. And it's like, that's so unnecessarily clever. Like, you didn't need to be this clever with a spin-off film of the penguins of Madagascar. Like, what? And there's just so much more super funny jokes. Another really good French joke when the penguins are in an airplane and they see and they're like, Skipper, or whatever, where's this plane landing? And he looks at this croissant. It's like, based off the weird shape of this bagel, I'd say we're going to France. And he says, France? Taxes are way too high there. And so they jump out the plane. They go to another plane. The action is also really good in this. Like I said, the whole segment where they're going from airplane to airplane, I just thought was really well done. Also, an iconic one I quote all the time when they do Skipper's Log. Classic, it's just a really solid film. I can't think of really anything negative to say about the film, except like maybe some of the side characters, like the North Wind characters, weren't as funny as the penguins. Like, I didn't, like, the seal wasn't, I mean, like I said, none of these characters, this is funny, I did reference the seal in the other film and the seal in this film. I mean, he was cute, but like I said, not super funny. But like, other than that, I can't really think of anything really negative I have to say about this film. It is a super solid film, and anytime I want to show people a really funny animated film, my default is usually Penguins of Madagascar because it is so funny. If they ever make a new Madagascar film, I don't think they need to make a main Madagascar film because they kind of completed the arc of the main characters. They went back to New York and now they're just happily ever after in a circus. I don't think they need to touch that. But if they do make another film, make a sequel to Penguins of Madagascar. They cooked with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish a sequel to a spinoff. They could do it again, especially because the first Penguins of Madagascar is just so good and it's so funny. So if you watch any of these films, maybe just watch Penguins of Madagascar, because that is by far, I think, the best. The rest of the films are also really good. I'd recommend watching those too. But Penguins of Madagascar, I don't know how they cooked with it, but is by far the best. And like I said, I didn't even watch it in this trip I did. So yeah, y'all enjoy the rest of the day. Go watch Penguins of Madagascar. Go watch the 2011 film Rango. We have a Discord. Join it below. I've been rambling on for way too long. Y'all have a nice one. Bye-bye.